What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. SEC officiating still sucks. SEC officiating still sucks because Jalen Catalon is not coming back on Saturday. Now, this is like the kind of thing that would go back and be changed by the SEC, but it's not going to affect this one. It's a very Arkansas thing, kind of like the fumble recovery against Auburn, where they didn't get the call right, and they went back and retroactive. They can't go retroactively change it, but they fixed it for the future. It'll probably happen something like this. So here's a situation. The SEC told Arkansas that the replay is what is the final review. So that's the replay is there to review the call to make sure that it's correct and that you can't go back and petition something to be changed later. So no matter what Hunter Yurachek says about doing everything in his power to try to get the call reversed, Jalen Catalon is still locked up and will be suspended for the first half against Missouri because of a terrible call by Marc Curles. One of a couple of terrible calls by Curles and his crew. So Catalon's not coming back against Missouri, even though he clearly wasn't targeting anybody. I mean, it looked like he hit the guy with his hip. The head linesman who threw the flag was behind him. Catalon's back was to him. But I get throwing the flag. It looks like it could be a vicious hit or something, So throw the flag. Let's look at it. But get the call right. Get the call right. Don't screw up the call. We're going to get to Marc Curles' crap in a minute. Before we get started, I want to remind you there's plenty of ways to watch and listen. You can always tune in on Facebook Live. Be sure to follow the page if you haven't done so already. Also available on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications bell so you're notified anytime we upload a new video. Throw us a like or a thumbs up on both of those channels. Also available on Apple Podcasts. Throw us that 5-star rating and leave a review so others can know what to expect. Also available on Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere else you can think of to find your favorite podcast. Sign up for our free newsletter where we deliver daily Razorback news for free to your email inbox along with any breaking news items. Also, sign up for text alerts where you get breaking news text alerts also. A lot of people have asked, is there a Black Friday deal coming? Is there a Cyber Monday deal coming? All I can say is you want to make sure you tune in to HawgSports tomorrow, which is Tuesday. Kind of a weird week, so this is the only HawgSports live show that we'll do this week due to Thanksgiving, obviously. There's a lot of reasons that Arkansas lost that game Saturday, okay? A lot of reasons. But one of the reasons is because of a couple of terrible calls. Okay, that's one of several reasons that Arkansas failed on Saturday. It's the only reason that wasn't like a direct thing that Arkansas did to themselves or that LSU did. It's the referees. The fumble call, there wasn't a clear review, which is ridiculous. It was obviously, and this isn't just me, this is everybody who has any credibility who's commented on it, including the announcers. I mean, the ball was clearly recovered by Joe Fouché. But the Catalon hit, I mean, you're talking about the very end of the game. And that's a momentum-changing game. It's the last drive, right? And you're going to call that. And it's the wrong call. So, at least get it right. Review it, sure, but get it right. Just pathetic. And then, what on top of that, what also kind of has to irk you is they called that tripping call on Traylon Smith, which is a dramatically rare call. But if you're going to call tripping on somebody, get it right. Make sure it's tripping. Don't screw it up. He wasn't tripping anybody. It was a perfectly legal block. And the significance of this is, first of all, first downs are tough to come by. Points are tough to come by in this game. And the first play of your drive to go down to try to tie or win, the first play, you're going to hit them with a tripping call, which ends up being a 12-yard penalty. Now, everything would have changed, obviously. Everything changes from there on out. But 12 yards would have made a difference. Arkansas ended up kicking a 44-yard field goal. 12 yards would have made quite a difference. Let's take one look back, I guess, on this. So one of the problems Arkansas had was getting first downs. Okay, they were 0 of 10 converting third downs. Arkansas coaches, Sam Pittman especially, always talks about the importance of getting that first down, right? Always talks about that. And if you look at it, I mean, he's absolutely right in this game. Arkansas gained a first down Saturday only on 6 of 13 drives. Okay? On those 6 drives, they scored 3 touchdowns and kicked 2 field goals and were held scoreless once, which is actually just the first time they picked up a first down. So 5 times they put themselves in scoring position when they picked up a first down. They look like a different team energy-wise. They look like a different – when they pick up a first down, they get that rhythm going. They're running downfield, trotting downfield, lining up, running their next play. They just get a rhythm going. So – I mean, it just goes to show you how critical that is. But that's one reason Arkansas lost the game, because they couldn't convert third downs. The first time they got ahead of the sticks, really, so every time they were in a third down, it was always 3rd and 5 or longer until the fourth quarter, when Felipe Franks had a 6-yard run to set up 2nd and 4. The following play was a 29-yard run by T.J. Hammonds, which is the longest run by a Hog running back on the day. That was the first time that they weren't in a 2nd and long or a 3rd and long. The first time. All day. That's tough. Now you look at the other side, and you've got LSU, with 23 third downs, which, by the way, nobody has had that many third downs against Arkansas this season. The next most is Georgia with 20, and then Mississippi State with 17. And if you look at Georgia was only 6 of 20 on third downs. LSU was 12 of 23, so a lot better. 13 of LSU's third downs were 3rd and 4 or shorter. It's a big deal. When you flip it to Arkansas, they were behind the sticks the whole time. That's why LSU had such a great, 13 times, and 13 of LSU's third downs were 3rd and 4, and they converted 12. I think if Arkansas weren't hit so hard on the defensive line in the game, they probably would have won. They probably would have had enough. Jonathan Marshall, I thought, was great. Superb at times. There's also times where I thought he was a little worn down. They also drew some double teams and stuff. Now, talking with Sam Pittman just a little bit ago, it doesn't sound real encouraging that they're just going to get a lot of guys back for this week. So there's different things that happen with testing. Test 3 times and you can come off. So many days that you have to wait and stuff. So with Pittman, he says their history with it is that the taking 3 test thing isn't going to change anything, okay? So they think maybe they get 1 or 2 guys back, maybe, but he didn't sound real confident in it. Will they get Rakeem Boyd back? Just a couple of those defensive linemen could be game. Just getting somebody back here and there, Arkansas was basically without their top 4 ends. Mateo Soli might be the 5 end because, he does have the club on his hand. That might be why he's down there. But I think you also had Isaiah Nichols, Xavier Kelly. Your number 2, number 3 defensive tackles were out. They were just hit hard. There were times where it was Torian Carter, Marcus Miller, Enoch Jackson, or Eric Thomas, some combination, or Jashad Stewart, some combination of those 5 guys with 3 of those guys all on the field at the same time. Some people were like, they need to get 4 down linemen out. They couldn't do that and expect to stay fresh as they could in the fourth quarter. So they really didn't have any choice but to run 3 down linemen. On top of that, when you got Arkansas losing so many guys like that, and then LSU on top of it gets Rosenthal back, a left tackle is one of the best left tackles in the SEC. Things just didn't work out like that for Arkansas. There was a lot of things, like having the rain happen at 13-13 mark. The rain couldn't have waited 2 more minutes when Arkansas gets down there, at the 5-yard line. Felipe Franks slips. They have a high snap, They just need – there was a lot of things like that just come on. Special teams issues are still a problem. Reed Bauer had a really good game, 47.4 yards per punt. Obviously, you had that kick blocked at the end. I mean, it's something with special teams every single time. Now, for me, I can look at this and say, okay, out of everything that's been impacted, special teams is probably the most likely to suffer because of COVID issues with moving players in and out. And I look at Scott Fountain's history as a coordinator, and he's very well respected. He's got a really strong resume. So I'm willing to look at that and say, okay, maybe the reason he's struggling really is because of COVID, while special teams are struggling, because they are moving so many players in and out and stuff. Maybe it's really impacted. But I think next year, Lord willing, all this stuff is behind us with COVID and stuff, or some of the restrictions, or it's easier to get through a game. I think you can kind of wipe the slate clean, both on his resume as a special teams coach and Arkansas's play this year. So I'm not going to just come down on Scott Fountain, although special teams has clearly been the weakest link here. I want to say kudos to Felipe for coming right back and throwing that deep ball to Mike Woods after he threw that pick that was almost a pick six. 50-yard pickup right there. Marc Curles' first blown. Again, I can't understand like even going back and watching the game, because I was at the game, but going back and watching it, listening to the announcers, what Stinchcomb and stuff say, they're talking I guess they're just trying to figure out exactly where to spot the ball. Nobody ever thought for a second that review wasn't going to go to Arkansas at the 37-yard line, right? So they end up fumbling the ball later, but it's basically a 34-yard loss for Arkansas on that drive, which, again, yards were critical. They were hard to come by. I didn't understand, right before the half, LSU, there's 9 seconds left. Why did LSU run the ball? Odds are you're not going to get into the end zone there. You've already got a chip shot field goal, and you run the ball to the right hash so you get the tough angle. I don't understand why they did that. I thought that was a weird call. So 6:55 left, obviously, was just again, I get throwing the flag. Let's take a look at this, make sure it's not targeting, player safety and everything. But when you watch it, how can you look at that and say, that he targeted? First of all, never hit the helmet. He hits him with his hip and abdomen. It makes you stupid, Mark, to look at that, Marc Curles. It makes you stupid to look at that and say that that's targeting. You're dumb. You're dumb if you look at that and say that's targeting. There's no other way to see it. There's not a single person who's looked at that with any credibility who has thought anything different than you did on that review. Again, a lot of reasons Arkansas lost the game. They certainly didn't need any help from the referees. I want to look back at Marc Curles. Let's look back at him. First of all, I've seen a lot of stuff we're gonna look at a few things, because there's a lot of people that are leave the SEC. Okay, it happens every time when Arkansas gets screwed over with something, which they have. It's happened this year. It happened against Auburn. Arkansas lost the Auburn game because the referees screwed up the call on the field and then screwed up the replay. Okay, that's Arkansas ball, game over. 28-27 Arkansas win against Auburn. Again, anybody who watched that with any credibility outside of Auburn or outside of the SEC backing up their guy knows that Arkansas got screwed over in that game. Okay? So it's happened that game. It happened in the LSU game. It happened in the Auburn game. Let's not forget the schedule. So Arkansas is riding a 19-game SEC losing streak. They're the worst team in the SEC, the laughingstock of college football. And instead of being man, can we help Arkansas out anyway? Can we give them South Carolina or Vanderbilt or Kentucky? Can we give them something, maybe a little bit easier game? No, let's don't. Let's give them the 2 toughest teams in the Eastern Division. Let's give them Georgia and Florida. Screw them. I don't understand how you can think anything else. Tell me. I want to hear you, sit down and say this is why Arkansas got Georgia and Florida. I haven't seen anything yet. I don't see anything from the SEC as far as transparency on why they did, why this call was made, or the Jalen Catalon thing. Why the stuff with Auburn happened. Aside from just BS rhetoric and why you gave them those two teams, okay? Which everybody, I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people think it's the toughest schedule in the history of college football. So I see a lot of people saying, leave the SEC. Where are you going to go? You don't have any, I mean, the SEC's, they've got you where they want. There's nothing you can do, first of all, from a financial standpoint, okay? If anybody should leave this conference, it's Marc Curles. If anybody should leave the SEC, it's Marc. I mean, get out of here, dude. Again, like I was saying after the game, I don't know anybody's name in the SEC who's an official except for yours. And we're going to get into 2009 Florida again. So people are like, Arkansas is a better fit for the Big 12 anyway. Like, Arkansas was the only non-Texas school in the Southwest Conference. Why are they a better fit with Texas schools than Mississippi schools or Tennessee schools? You know, why? I don't understand. Why is that? So you think you're going to be a better fit for a conference that nobody really wants to go to unless they don't have any other option? Like, so if you go, so like in realignment, when all that stuff was happening a few years ago, 2012, I guess, 2011, nobody was moving because the geography made sense. They were only moving because of financial reasons or because they were sick of Texas getting preferential treatment from the Big 12. Nobody's moved, but Arkansas is going to move because it makes sense geographically. Not because of money. They're going to be the only ones out of everybody in college football. So this is what happened with the Big 12 back then. Colorado left for the Pac-12. Nebraska left for the Big 10. Texas A&M left for the SEC. Missouri left for the SEC because they were fed up with what was going on with the Big 12. Okay? Texas is a big money school. They feel like they get a lot of extra treatment, and they do. It's a lot different than the SEC. So you're just trading one problem for another one if you move to the Big 12. Again, the Big 12 has 10 teams. You think they don't want 12 teams? You don't think they want 12 or 14 like everybody else? They do. They want 12 or 14 teams, but they can't get anybody. So, and this is nothing against TCU or West Virginia, but West Virginia was, I mean, the Big East had football had collapsed in the Big East, so they didn't have a whole lot of options. And, I mean, again, they're not thinking geography-wise. And then TCU was a member of the Mountain West. So if Arkansas leaves the SEC, they'll fill that spot like that. I mean, it won't even be a second thought. And they'll have tons of schools from other Power 5 conferences. How can we take it? We'll take it. We want that spot. Arkansas doesn't want it. We want it. That's how it would go. And, you know, how about like the idea that like you can compete better in another conference like the Big 12 than you can in the SEC? To me, that's just like the weakest idea ever. Like, it's too hard, so we want to go somewhere else. It's too hard over here. How about step your game up? Step your game up and rise to that level. Don't quit because it's too hard and go somewhere else and play. I want to play over in this playground. Come on. Terrible. So you're not leaving the SEC, first of all. It's the best conference in college football, regardless of how you feel about some of the treatment that Arkansas has gotten. And speaking of that, let's look at that 2009 Florida game. So at some point, I feel like there was a late hit out of bounds call. I couldn't find it. There was a late hit out of bounds call against Rudell Krim when the guy was in bounds, both feet in bounds. So I couldn't find that, so I'm not going to go into depth about it. But with 7:56 to play in the fourth quarter, Arkansas is up 20-13. Ramon Broadway was in good coverage, turns around, looks for the ball, which is badly underthrown in the end zone, badly underthrown, and gets hit with a pass interference call. Terrible call. Again, this is announcers watching Gary Danielson. They're reviewing it, going back over it, looking at it. He doesn't agree with the call. He thinks it's a bad call. The very next play, Malcolm Shepard, the play's way over to the sideline. Shepard's jogging, just trotting down there. There's no way he's getting to it. And Marcus Gilbert, number 76 for Florida, sees him, not looking at him, and thinks, I'm going to blindside this dude. And so he comes at him 20 yards away from the play and tries to lay him out. The problem is Malcolm Shepard's stout. He sees him last minute, braces for it, and sends Marcus Gilbert flying to the ground. Marc Curles catches this, just the end part of it, and throws the flag. I mean, pathetic. Again, I'm reminded of like the Karate Kid, part 3, when he's like, I'm not going to fight. And he's like, what are you going to do? Just stand there and let him kick your butt. Is that what Malcolm Shepard was supposed to do? Just stand there and just get laid out. So that's 30 yards right there. 30 yards that were just given to Florida. So after being gifted those plays, Florida scores on the next play. All right. And then backing up a little bit in the third quarter, with the play clock sitting at 0 with 10:59 to play. Play clock pops up. It's 0. They snap the ball on a 51-yard field goal and drill it. Should have been a delay of game. 5-yard penalty, which would have made it a 56-yard field goal. I think that would have made a bit of a difference. I don't know that a 51-yard field goal is easy. It's not. But I know a 56-yard field goal is really hard and very rarely happens from that distance. Cut Arkansas's lead to 4 points, made it 10-6. 1:07 left to play in the game on the drive where Florida goes down to score. Again, Marc Curles and his crew. This is the first reason why everybody knows Marc Curles' name. Tebow throws the ball 45 yards downfield into the end zone, where Andrew Stewart is waiting there to pick it off. But Riley Cooper sees what's going on, obviously, because it's intended for him, jumps on Andrew Stewart's back, wraps him up before the ball even kind of gets there. It is clear offensive pass interference here. No flag. No flag. Cooper made a first down catch on the next play, and 9 seconds left. Florida kicked the game-winning field goal. Arkansas never had a chance because Marc Curles and his crew would not allow them to have a chance. That would have been a win at Florida, possibly. At least a shot at a win. They had no shot because they gave him no chance. So that's twice. Marc Curles should never call another Arkansas game. I don't care. The perception of it is awful. Like, the idea that you would allow that to continue, it's awful. It's terrible. And then this added explanation today that you're not even going to look at it, even though you know you're wrong. You know that you screwed it up. You're just going to back your guy. It's weak. It's weak. Greg Sankey, do the right. I mean, here we are in COVID times. It's a struggle week to week to get a team together to go out and play a game, and you're going to deny Jalen Catalon a precious opportunity to play in the first half of the next game because of a terrible, awful. I mean, you almost feel like biased. I mean, I think a lot of people think there's a conspiracy. I just think that Marc Curles is incompetent as an official. I'm sure you're a fine financial planner or whatever, Mark, but as an official, repeatedly, you do a terrible job, okay? Repeatedly. Like, literally, you have cost Arkansas games. Cost them. Like, not just like a bad call, in the second quarter here and there, but like at the end of games. And it's the second time that it's happened this year, where it has like literally led to. I mean, that changed the whole momentum of the game. You take Arkansas is literally their best player on defense out of the game, which a defense that is already hurting, and then like you allow that tripping call right after that on Arkansas's drive where they have to go down there and score to win or tie. It's pathetic. I'm sorry, it is. I hate to like harp on officiating because I hate when people like do that and like blame, but like it costs. I mean, I'm not going to say like this one cost Arkansas the game, but it certainly put them in an awful position with just a few minutes left in a very close game that is very difficult to win with like two just horrendous calls. And also, you took away a scoring opportunity earlier in the game on that fumble, which I've watched it over and over and over again. The Catalan hit, I probably looked at it 20 times to see if I'm missing something. The fumble, probably a dozen times. It's just a terrible call by you, Mark. Like, you upholding that, you're a bad referee, dude. I mean, you're not good at it. I can't understand, like, on this level, I can't understand how you continue to be able to referee on this level. I hope you see this. You got to know. You got to know anyway. Again, I don't think you're a bad person. I don't think that you're corrupt. I just think you suck at your job. I think you suck. You suck. This weekend's game is at 11 o'clock also. They'll meet for the 12th time against the Missouri Tigers, who have kind of owned Arkansas. I mean, like, this is a rivalry game. This is one of several games that has an underlying storyline, right? So let's look at the Arkansas football. I've got the wrong roster schedule. Football schedule. All the games that have an underlying storyline. Georgia. Sam Pittman was the offensive line coach at Georgia last year. Playing his former team. Mississippi State. A lot of people thought Mike Leach might be the hire for Arkansas, or should have been the hire. A lot of people were disappointed Arkansas didn't get Mike Leach. Auburn, obviously, former head coach Chad Morris, offensive coordinator at Auburn. You've also got plenty of other Arkansans over there, like Gus Malzahn, Cody Burns, even an assistant over there. So Tim Horton at Auburn. Then you get Ole Miss. A lot of people wanted Lane Kiffin, and it looked like at one point it would be Lane Kiffin. So there's another storyline. Texas A&M. Am I missing one at Texas A&M? I mean, with Texas A&M, it's just obvious. I mean, they've lost to them so many times in a row now. So I don't know if I would say there's like an underlying storyline other than the game being moved from Arlington, where it's supposed to be a neutral site, to Texas A&M, and then the game will be played in Arlington. It won't be played in Arkansas next year. It'll be played in Arlington again. Tennessee game. Was there an underlying storyline against Tennessee? I don't guess so. Florida, Felipe Franks obviously returning to the Swamp. That was a big one. LSU, I don't guess there was one. Missouri, obviously there's one. Missouri, Barry Odom, Brad Davis, Sam Carter, all returning to Columbia to face the Missouri Tigers Saturday, November 28th, this Saturday at 11 a.m. And Arkansas is kind of depleted, especially on defense. The Alabama game in 12 days, time has not been set for that. You suck, Marc Curles. Time has not been set for that. Okay? They're going to wait till 6 days out. I guess CBS exercised their 6-day option, which they get to do a couple of times a year. Curtis Wilkerson does the 5 burning questions. Will the Hogs return to form defensively? I think they did. I think they played pretty well overall defensively, considering everything that they had lost. How will the 21-day layoff impact LSU's play? I think it helped them. Got a lot of guys back healthy. They were definitely the healthier team. I think that played a role. Can Arkansas add to LSU's woes in the secondary? They did. They beat them deep several times. A lot of people said they should have gone. Now, like the Felipe Franks to Traylon Burks, I don't know if that was like a deep pass. I mean, it was downfield. It was a busted coverage. But just throwing, 50 yards downfield, it kind of took them a while to start getting that going. But half of Arkansas's yards were on those big plays. Who strikes first? Did Arkansas strike first? I think Arkansas struck first. I wouldn't say any team made a big impact early, but I think Arkansas did. Pittman's return, will it give the Hogs a boost? Possibly. Possibly did. It's kind of a subjective one. So basketball starting this week. Arkansas has 2 games. Wednesday, November 25th against Mississippi Valley State. and Saturday, November 28th against North Texas, both in Bud Walton Arena. Curtis Wilkerson will be there for both of those, so go to HawgSports for your coverage there. I don't know if we mentioned Desi Sills was second team preseason All-SEC pick, by the way. Really intriguing deal this basketball season. All right, everybody. We're going to get to your questions. Again, I can't tell you what's going on tomorrow, but go to HawgSports. You'll be glad you did. See what all we've got for you. Cody Payne says, I was extremely disappointed in the lack of mentioning LSU. I got some things rolling off here. I'm going to start at the bottom and go backwards. Stephen Shope says, I'm proud of the defense, the way they played against LSU. Offense should be throwing the ball more. Our running game is not working. Running game, I think, not having Rakeem Boyd for this one was a big impact because Rakeem, while he hasn't had the season that he had last year, he does tend to fall forward. When he gets past the line of scrimmage especially, he's gonna fall forward for a couple more yards. And I think that's what really benefited LSU in this one because they did fall forward. They did, not to say like they broke tackles, but like they were like squirming through tackles to get an extra couple of yards. And that makes a big difference. I mean, again, I mentioned that it wasn't until the fourth quarter that Arkansas was in a situation that was better than 2nd and 5 or 3rd and 5. It wasn't until the fourth quarter that happened. So, but LSU had it a lot of times. 13 different times they were in a 3rd and 4 or shorter. Cliff Boyd says, where's Randy Moss on the Curles call? Come on, man. Exactly. Nate Davis, so what's your score prediction for Saturday? I think that Arkansas is going to win, but I'm also concerned for Arkansas because it doesn't sound like they're just going to get a whole lot. It doesn't sound like they're going to get a whole lot back. We'll see. Randy Reese wants one more. You suck. And you do, Marc Curles. You suck. You're a bad referee. Corey Barton says, yeah, I don't feel like he's crooked, but I just don't understand how he made a call to keep that upheld. It wasn't even close to targeting. It saddens me that we have to deal with this. I agree. Yeah, I don't think he's crooked either. I think he just sucks and is incompetent as a referee. I mean, he's proven it too many times. They were suspended. Like the Florida game I went back to, like they were suspended after that game. That crew was suspended. But they're back. Screwing Arkansas again. He should never call another Arkansas game. Wesley Harris says it's not okay for most of the time, but this is too much. Too many times a single game. Well, it's more than just this game, but by the same official. It's so bad and ridiculous. How does he still have a job? I can't just be more of our games right. I mean, I would like to know what other SEC teams think about Marc Curles. Is Arkansas the only one that's getting jobbed by Marc Curles? I mean, I'm sure LSU likes him. No reason for them not to like him. The thing that also kind of stinks about it, like I can remember several games where Arkansas, I felt like they just got really, really messed over. And there's a couple where like they were like had no chance. Like that Florida game, they gave Arkansas no chance to win that game. Florida, by the way, was undefeated. Went on to go to the SEC championship game as an undefeated team. But they gave Arkansas no chance to win that game. But I cannot remember a single game. And somebody please point me to the game if I'm wrong. But I can't remember a single game since Arkansas has been in the SEC where I was like, whew. Arkansas got lucky on that call right there and leads to a win. If somebody remembers that game happening, I would love for them to point it out. And that's the thing that bugs me. I understand like here and there you're going to make mistakes, okay? You should never make a mistake on replay. And you should never you can't make mistakes in the critical final moments of a game like the referees did in this one. But I can't remember a game where Arkansas, I just felt like, wow, they got away with that. They got lucky there. Arkansas won this game because the referees screwed up. Out of every game that they've played since '92, I can't remember a single one. Can coaches deny the crew assigned to the game? I don't know. They should be able to. What about a clear and immediate recovery? Don't forget that. Yeah, the clear and immediate recovery in the Auburn game. I mean, that was terrible. Mark Ribby says if you know a referee by name, they're not doing their job. Exactly. I mean, I think I can remember maybe like Larry Leatherwood or something, but I'm not even sure if that's right. But I know Marc Curles, M-A-R-C. I know it's spelled with a C. I know it's C-A-R-L-E-S with an E. It's spelled funny both ways, and I know how to spell it and everything. Like that's it. I know his face. I know he's got brown eyes and brown hair. He's kind of gray-headed now. I know what he does for a living. I know where he lives. I know he lives in Birmingham. I mean, like, I shouldn't know that kind of stuff, but I do because of the performances he's had against Arkansas. You suck, Marc Curles. Trey, Jim Taylor in Fresno, California. Well, 2 bad calls away from being 5-3. Have to be proud of them. Better get that address if you want. What? So, Arkansas could be 5-3. I mean, they're very close. I mean, the Auburn game, which some Arkansas fans still count that. Obviously, officially, it's always going to be Auburn won that game. And the LSU game, they could have 5 wins. They could be 5-3. They would be nationally ranked, obviously, most likely, if that were the case. They definitely would have been after that Auburn game. So many negative impacts because of that. But they could be 0-8. I mean, the wins that they've had have all been close. I guess the Ole Miss game ended up being a fairly decent margin. But they could be 0-8. But the difference is that they actually have a plan this season. The team plays together, fights together. They're unified as a team. I see better things on the horizon for this program. I really do. And it's the way that they play together, So I think better things are in store for the future. If you put yourself in position to win, then, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, But Arkansas hasn't just blown the doors off anybody yet. But they have to get bigger. I mean, it's kind of the same stuff we were saying, in recruiting, even looking at the way Arkansas offensive linemen are listed height and weight wise, they look a little different from a build standpoint than some of these other teams. Not everybody, but I look at I think I mentioned this maybe last week, but you got a couple of guys who added 35 pounds. You've got other teams in the SEC where guys are so big that they're having to take weight off to get down to 6'6", 320, 330, First you have Arkansas adding 35 pounds on guys to get them up from 290 or 280. You know what I mean? I would think that if you lose a bunch of weight because you're too heavy, you're going to retain most of, if not all, your strength, or if not get stronger because you're still lifting weights and most of what you're losing is fat. So I would think that, those guys are going to go from, losing that weight to being I feel lighter, I feel faster, I feel quicker on my feet. I'm still just as strong versus Arkansas going, okay, I feel stronger, but I feel a little slow. I feel sluggish. I'm worn down a little more because I'm not used to all this sudden 35 pounds that I put on. And, also with coronavirus, how much of that is really good weight? How much of it is, sitting at home and eating? I don't know. I mean, it could be all good weight. But understand what I'm saying. Arkansas is having to just pack weight on their guys versus other teams trimming guys down. But they'll address that in recruiting, and that is not a slight to anybody at Arkansas. I mean, you should be proud of every single guy that's lining up if you're an Arkansas fan. I mean, they've played their butts off this year. But Arkansas was severely limited in that LSU game, and it sounds like they're going to be limited against Missouri also. They didn't have 2 of their starters at the right side at right guard and right tackle. They haven't had that for a while. I don't know if Bo Limmer's supposed to be coming back anytime soon, or Gatlin. And then to lose 2 of your top 3 defensive tackles, all 4 of your top defensive ends. That's tough. And then they throw out your best defensive player because of a BS targeting call because Marc Curles sucks. Anybody got a count on how many times Marc Curles sucks? You suck. Like if I screw something up, I'm going to be the first person to say, I'm an idiot. I screwed up. How can I fix this? I can't live with it. I can't live with if people are counting on me for something, that's one of my biggest things. Like if people are counting on me, I don't want to let them down, right? I've got people, I remember when I used to work at my dad's furniture factory when I was in high school and college and stuff. And I had to get up, first thing because I had to be the one that unlocked the door because everybody was counting on me to get to work, punch the clock to work that day. It's like this with our coverage of the HawgSports. I feel like people are counting on us for coverage. I don't want to screw it up. And if I do something stupid like call my roofer, I'm going to admit that I'm an idiot. I messed that up. It didn't have as big an impact as even close to everything that screwing up calls in these games. And when you have opportunities to make the correct call and fix it, it's not even close. Think about everything that's been impacted by really two calls that really impacted the outcome of the game. Again, with the LSU game, it's not as much because it wasn't like the Auburn game, you took the game. You took an Arkansas win from them because you're a referee. In this game, you just kept making calls over and over again that put Arkansas in a bad situation at the very end of the game. Kind of like Florida. You made this call, you made that call, you made that call, you didn't call this. You didn't give Arkansas an opportunity to even win the game because of the calls that you were making. So these two games where Arkansas lost, you cost Arkansas possibly, they may be the best story in college football right now anyway, but you definitely cost them the best story in college football. You may have cost Sam Pittman an SEC Coach of the Year honor, maybe a national coach. You cost Arkansas a chance to be ranked in the top 25, impact in recruiting, all of these things. I mean, it's not just like one thing. It's not just one game. You might have knocked a couple of years off some people's life out of anger. Ben Phillips says, I say we protest and get Curles fired. I'm not promoting anything. I'm not going to try to rally the troops or anything like that. That's not my intent. All I'm saying is Marc Curles sucks and he's incompetent and he shouldn't call any more Arkansas games. All right. Plenty of ways to watch and listen. Of course, you can always tune in on Facebook Live. Be sure to throw us a thumbs up if you haven't done so already, and follow the page if you haven't done so. We put all of our free content on Facebook, so if you like free Razorback content, follow the page. This will also pop up for you whenever we run the live show. Also available on YouTube. Be sure to throw us a thumbs up there. Follow the page. Subscribe to the page if you haven't done so already, and hit the notifications bell so you're notified anytime we upload new videos. And also comment, interact, all that stuff. Share it with somebody you think might like it. Help us grassroots this show. The reason I ask for all this stuff, and also with Apple Podcasts, if you haven't thrown us a 5-star rating, then please throw us that 5-star rating. Just take a moment to throw that to us and leave a review so people can know what to expect. And the reason I ask for all that stuff is because it does help our channel significantly when people just do things like interact, throw a like or a frown face or anything, just interacting with the video, but especially rating, subscribing, all of those things boost the channel so other people can see it. It really helps a lot. So if you do have a minute, please take a second and do that for us. Also available on Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere else you can think of to find your favorite podcast. All right, so this is the last HawgSports live show this week. Again, you're going to want to check out HawgSports.com tomorrow. We got some stuff for you as far as Cyber Monday, Black Friday type of stuff. Is that right? Cyber Monday, Black Friday, yeah. We've also got a special treat coming for you this week too. So you want to stay tuned to that. All right, everybody. Appreciate you joining in. Marc Curles sucks. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. Marc Curles sucks.